This is the Inner Wisdom Society's series on the secret of life. Today we're talking about how to let go. If you really like these kinds of topics and this really resonates with you, you will want to check out the link in the description to join our community of like-minded people who go deep on these type of topics. Today we're going to be talking about letting go and how that is one of the keys or one of the secrets of life. The greatest lesson that the Western world could ever learn from Eastern wisdom is to let go of control. That's as true today as it was about 50 years ago when Alan Watts first said that. And that's before we had things like groceries that could be delivered right to your house, swiping right or left, to find a date for the evening, or, everything else we can get from Amazon just delivered to your door within an hour. Think of the amount of control we have over our lives and things we could bring in versus just even a generation ago. And we have almost trained ourselves and trained kids that are growing up that they can control everything and have everything. But today we're going to go through and talk about how that is not really the best thing for them. That's not really what you want at all. So when you go through and you start to think, in life, what is it that I desire? What is it that I truly want? When we ask that question in a naive way, we start to decide that we want to control everything. We can kind of detail out everything we want, how everything goes into place. We can create, things exactly how we want them, have people behave exactly how we want it. You really just total control. And what we don't have is the ability to see several moves ahead, like in chess, to say, well, if you did all that work and you finally got everyone to behave that way and you got everything exactly how you wanted it, would that really make you happy? Would that really be what you wanted when you finally get there? So let's say, magically you were able to get everyone to conform to your will, and then the moment you have a situation in which you are really in control of things, that's to say, a future with which everything is completely predictable. Once you have a completely predictable future, it's really the past because you've already had it because you already know everything about it. And that's not what you want at all. As Philip McKernan always says, what a waste to spend all that effort and time to climb your mountain thinking, getting exactly what you wanted it, the way you wanted it is really what you wanted, only to realize when you get to the top and achieve that you climbed the wrong mountain and it's absolutely not what you want at all. And so what you really want in life is truly a surprise. Just like when you're a baby, I have, 2 kids, including a newborn, and, they can kind of go around and play, but one thing they love to play forever when they're young is peekaboo. They scare, peek out and they giggle, peek out and they giggle forever. Or even as my daughter loves to play hide and seek, nonstop, I can even hide in the exact same spots, and she just loves it. So what you really want is some kind of surprise. You don't want the control. The only way to get a surprise is to let go of control, because that way you don't know what's coming. But the secret of life is once you agree to accept that, and you want to really find out you want a surprise, and you let go of control, then you realize that a surprise can come in 2 ways, just like 2 sides of a coin. You could have a good surprise, or you could have a really bad surprise. And you have to let go of control and accept that things are going to come both ways. It's much like going on a first date. You get the jitters, the excitement, the butterflies, which some people just love. And part of it's because you have no idea the person you're about to meet is either your soulmate or going to be a total disaster. And just the excitement of not knowing which way it's going to go is really exciting for some people. Versus had you known exactly, oh, this is the person I'm going to marry, right off the bat, that's not what you want. That doesn't create any excitement. That doesn't create any, magical energy or spark between each of you as you meet in a relationship. So in the end, what it really comes to is that even if you don't know what's behind the next door, you really just want to let go of complete control, and you want to experience a surprise or experience what the world has. So I'll give an example from science for the next part of this, which I'm a scientist by training. And so if you look at the periodic table, and you look at all the elements you recognize at the top, those are the ones that we know. And then you see that there's a whole nother set of elements down at the bottom of the table, which is just a bunch of junk that we have no idea what it is. When you think from a scientific perspective, or some people's goal of trying to win a Nobel Prize, which is one of the most prestigious honors in science, at the bottom of the periodic table is where all the Nobel Prizes live, because lots of the early elements were discovered, and then slowly over time it took more and more work to try to find all the elements down at the bottom of the periodic table. So one lesson that I love from science that kind of tells you about letting go of control is about a man named Emilio Segre. And so he wanted to win a Nobel Prize. So he worked at the right universities, he was working on the right projects, trying to discover new elements of the periodic table. And in his work, he wanted to discover element number 93. And based on his control, so right, I know I'm going to win a Nobel Prize, I'm going to get it for discovering the specific element, and I'm going to get it because I know exactly what this element should be or behave or do like, and I know the exact experiments I need to run, right? So he had his whole plan laid out for him, exactly how he was going to do it. The challenge is when he started to run his experiments, he discovered something weird and differently that didn't behave as he expected. And so based on that, he says, well, I think I know where element 93 should sit in the periodic table, and what I've found here does not fit my model of where it should, therefore I'm going to throw it out and I'm going to give up. So eventually he got frustrated and walked away from his research. He even wrote a paper, and these of course are the elements they're trying to find beyond uranium and so forth. So his paper was titled "An Unsuccessful Search for Elements Beyond Uranium," and he basically talked about how he couldn't find what he was looking for. So then he gave up on that work, and then later, after he gave up, because he couldn't find it in exactly the way he expected it and the control that he wanted, he just walked away. And another man, by the name of Edwin McMillan, came back, and he felt troubled by this, and he says, he ended up looking at it, and he said, well, what if we're wrong? And what if element number 93 isn't exactly where we thought it would be in the periodic table? What if it fits somewhere else? So he went back, reran the experiments that Segre left behind, and looked at it differently and said, you know what? I think we really discovered element number 93. It just doesn't behave the way we expected it to, because we don't know enough about these elements that we just discovered. So then what ends up happening is, Edwin McMillan went on to win the Nobel Prize in chemistry in 1951 for this work. Now, had Segre continued on the work, or was open to learning or having his quote-unquote victory come to him in a different way than he was trying to control, he might have had his Nobel Prize. But instead, since he couldn't control everything, and he didn't expect it to come to him in the way, it didn't come exactly how he thought it was going to be, then he really thought he didn't discover the element number 93, because it didn't come to him the way he had tried to control it. And then he got so frustrated that he couldn't control the situation, he just walked away, and someone else won his Nobel Prize. So the lesson of it is, and we talk about this more in the Inner Wisdom Society for those who want to join, because this comes up in so many different ways of how you discover what you want out of life, how you go about finding what your true purpose is in life. All these things you have to truly let go of control and give it up to the universe. Just trust the universe. And you already do that with so many aspects of your body, between how you breathe, how your heart pumps blood, all these things that you don't think about that just happen naturally. These are examples of things that work perfectly because you let go of control over them. But once you try to force control over them, that's when things start to break down. So I'll wrap it up for this one, but if you want to join the Inner Wisdom Society, again, check the link in the description below and join us. And if you enjoy the topics like these, where we can intertwine scientific understanding with, these big questions of life, or searching through the big topics of life, then you should definitely join.